Good evening, race fans, and welcome to the final round of VSR Phoenix Season 7 live here on TRTN. I, of course, am Regan Clark, and we start things off very quickly into qualifying here at the final round of the championship. Round 16 then takes us to the land of the rising sun here in Mie Prefecture, Japan, at the mighty international racing course Suzuka. Located, of course, in Suzuka and founded in 1962, it's been the home of the Japanese Grand Prix. 3.6 miles and 18 corners of FIA Grade 1 marks our final destination here in Season 7. It is a fantastic course. I'd say highly underrated on this game, and it's going to make for one hell of a race today. We watch on board then with one of our potential crowning champions in this round, as the Silver Championship and Bronze Championships are still yet to wrap up. This is one of the drivers in question who, by the end of this race, could very well be one of our two to be crowned the Silver League champion. It's VSR Otzi and the number 6 Aston Martin on his way down through 130R. We'll get a full rundown then of the Suzuka International Racing course in what is a fantastic car to do so. That Aston has been really hearty in the silver category. We'll get a full rundown then of our standings and qualifying predictions coming into this round, starting us off then with VSR Otzi down towards the line. Kicking us off already. Normally in Formula 1 you'd see one of our DRS zones here with the infamous site of Jack Doohan's crash at the recently just gone Japanese Grand Prix as we head down into the first turn. Don't worry, VSR Otzi's definitely got his DRS closed for this one, out through what is ironically turn 1 and 2, though it constitutes the name the first turn. Into the S curves then, turns 3, 4, 5, 6 and then 7. Marks the end of Sector 1. We've seen plenty of drivers get side by side around this area of the track. The last time we were able to cover Suzuka was back in round 2 of the NLRL Console Endurance Series. As we make our way now, round turn 7. This was the site of a big crash during that round. Here at the Dunlop curve, turn 7 brings us down into the Degner, which is a very deceptively tricky section of the track here. Turns 8 and 9, the Degner curve. Then down into turn 9. Very easy to run wide and take some gravel with you here as we enter Sector 2. On our way down to turn 10 and 11 at the hairpin. Very quick braking zone there. Do expect some wall-to-wall action. Some drivers getting side by side. Very late braking is going to benefit into that section of the track. Very easy to catch your opponents by surprise on our way down through turn 12. Down towards Spoon Curve at turns 13 and 14. Out through this area of the track. Also very easy to run wide at this section. I think our drivers are much more used to open wheel Formula 1 cars around this track than they are GTs. Nonetheless, heading down towards the national pit straight here at Suzuka as we make our way to 130R. Of course, the site of the iconic overtake by Fernando Alonso on Michael Schumacher back in one of the most glorious seasons of Grand Prix racing we've bear witness to. Out through 130R we go, then down towards the Casio Triangle. Another late braking zone here. We have seen people go side by side, but rarely have we seen it go so well once they get to the apex at turn 16. Then turn 17, now turn 18. At the end of the Casio, down towards the line goes VSR Otzi on the end of our first flying lap there by the Aston Martin. Down towards the line. Very late run to the timing lines at 2:02.477 by VSR Otzi. And so, with that lap out of the way, taking a look around the field, we'll have a look at our overall championship standings and then start to break things down on our tiered standings for silver and bronze. Of course, the gold category wrapped up a few rounds ago in Great Britain at the Donington Sprint Round. So in the overall, it's a 185 point lead for Just Boris against ETE Geels. In third is Soviet Mario with 555 points. The Blue Frog in fourth with 470 points. Now, if he were competing in silver still, he would have won that championship by around about now. In fifth then is Otzi and sixth Funky Fish, separated at the moment by 32 points in their championship. We'll get onto that later on. Regent in seventh with 392 points. VSR Pete with 378, Wadenator with 343, and VSR Twiglet with 306 to round out our top 10. So we stay on board here with Wishful Winning. Sadly, we couldn't see him take the checkered flag back at the Nürburgring. We'll get on to the discussion of that in just a moment, as there was plenty to pick apart in that last round just gone. Watching here with the Mustang as he makes his way down towards the Casio Triangle. And discussing really what happened with Wishful Winnings, and furthermore discussing what the finishing order was like as we get on to our previous winners as well. We'll quickly first take a look at our tiered standings. We want to make that dead clear and get this out of the way here. So starting, of course, up in the gold category, we know that that's a wrapped up affair there. Very little chance of positions being won or lost in this section of the round, save for the difference between Tyler Vermack and Hayden Puttock there. 296 points and 280. Very easy for those two to get the leg up on one another. And one final move in the championship standings before the end of Season 7. But silver is where the real meat and potatoes are in this championship. It is a 34-point gap to decide the championship between the two leading Aston Martins. VSR Oatsy in the number 6, VSR Funky Fish in the number 982. We're watching here with another budding driver in the silver category, Wishful Winnings, who made a late entry into the championship. Sadly, disconnected and couldn't take the checkered flag in Nürburgring last Wednesday. And that was one of the sadder retirements, really, because since his late entry, much like another driver on this list, or up in the gold list, I should say, being Elite Cassie, they've had a late entry, but a very graceful one, to say the least, with such leaps and bounds in performance. Having a look around the field then as we continue to cover the silver category standings, looking towards Soviet Mario there, just making his way through the S's. We want to try and get on board with one of our budding drivers, as it were. We'll get on to Antion in a moment's time. That is a relevant discussion at hand. Trying to find his... We can see Skino making his drive with Manti EMA. The number 92. He was looking to use the Nissan coming into this round. Let's see if we can try and find then. VSRP also a contender in this championship, but is quite some distance away there. Numerically out of the fight for the leading position, but on a really solid round today. Could even take second at the chagrin of the number 982. So then we'll come back to Antion as we saw him earlier. Relevant discussion up next. That is for the discussion of our last tier in the championship standings for Season 7. That's the bronze category, of which Antion currently leads the championship by 24 points to VSR Smiler. Coming into round 16 of the championship, one more confident drive from the number 1 will secure position number 1 in the championship standings for bronze, giving him his first title here in Season 7. So having a look around the field then, as we've got about 11.5 minutes left to go, we're going to get on board with some of our drivers who we've had to really had to start pick apart what happened last week, and I think it's namely this driver here. It's Elite Cassie Edhow, as we all saw right before the red flags came out. Just excuse me a moment. Excuse me. Just before the end of last race gone, we were on the Dottinger on our way down towards Antoniusbucher and Tiergarten, the last two corners of the Nürburgring Nordschleife, and getting back onto the Grand Prix loop to take the checkered flag at the end of round 15. Suddenly the session ended and we were reverted back to the pit lane. Now, race control had to very finely inspect this whole thing, and sadly we're forced in a process to take the last available lap of data to then conclude the racing standings. Now, as we all know, the last lap was decided between ETE Gilles, who started the lap leading, and Elite Cassie, who overtook him on our way into the Nordschleife. Sadly, what this means is that Elite Cassie was effectively robbed of what looked to be a dead-to-rights win back in the Nürburgring. Of course, race control has fettered over this process in every which way and has had to make this decision. Not that they wanted to. In an ideal world, Elite Cassie would have took the checkered flag and would have won the race, but they're playing with circumstances now that are quite far out of their control. What that means, looking into our previous winners as we come into the final round of the championship, that it was ETE Gilles who won and got his second win this season with Ford Performance. The number 57 then would, by proxy, take the checkered flag first. Though in this instance, I'd say it's taking the red flag first. That session technically ended just before the last set of corners. It was a very bizarre case to be studied, but for Elite Cassie, he's back in the saddle with AMG for the last round here, and a brand new livery as well, in the number 98. Looking around the field here, as we just see Hayden Puttock driving the only Japanese... Oh, actually no, one of the only Japanese machineries on the field. As we see here, taking the line... not the line, can't get me words out today. Taking the timing line at the end of that flying lap to take the second fastest time. Let's have a look then at our overall and bring up then the predictions for qualifying today. And you can see already with half the session done, it's looking pretty close to what we had imagined, save for a few outlying examples. Just Boris then, now on a development drive with Lamborghini in the 999. has set the fastest time thus far, and it's actually only half a second off of his predicted fastest lap at 1:59.187 for the 999. VSR Chris is predicted in second, with Wishful Winnings predicted third, Vermac fourth, Soviet Mario fifth, Elite Cassie predicted in sixth, ahead of Boy Shay in seventh position, VSR Pete and Antion eighth and ninth, with Otzi rounding out the top 10 for predictions. Coming into this round, looking at the balance of performance for Suzuka, and it's looking very, very strong for the Lexus team. Maybe not so strong for Ford Performance. 15 kilos added to the Mustang, 27 kilos taken off of the Lexus RCF. BMW losing 6 kilos on the BMW M4. Lamborghini losing 4 kilos on its Huracan, so that'll be great news then for Just Boris on his first drive this season with Lamborghini. Mercedes gaining 6, McLaren gaining 7, Porsche and Ferrari gaining 9. No data, sadly, to provide for Honda coming into this round. And what a car it is then, right at home here amongst the masses here in Japan. The mighty Suzuka circuit. It's the second generation Honda NSX. Sadly, it may be the last time we ever get to see the Honda NSX competing in the modern day against its contemporaries at Nissan and Lexus. The second generation NSX failed to produce sales numbers anywhere near that of its first generation counterpart. So we see Hayden Puttock now bringing it into the pits after the Casio Triangle and after a very late blunder that left him with no momentum to start the next flying lap. Looking here, Just Boris, the Gold Series and therefore overall Season 7 champion, now taking to the field on a brand new drive today with Lamborghini in the Huracan Evo 2. In a stark new colour scheme as well. We're used to seeing the orange and blue out of his livery choices. We saw as well the black and pink when he ran in Hungary in memoriam of Hu Darren. But now a brand new livery for Just Boris. A bright, almost a baby or lilac-ish pink there. Almost salmon pink Lamborghini Huracan Evo 2. It is a mighty vehicle, but sharp as the finest blade and very, very pointy going into these corners. We've seen plenty of drivers struggle over the course of their careers choosing Lamborghini. It is by all accounts relatively unorthodox in the modern scape for ACC on console. It does not have many favourable setups, and nor does it have many favourable conditions going in to balance a performance safe for today. Just Boris has got on the light side of things with Lamborghini. Normally they're on the back foot in pit skill, balance of performance coming into most of these races. And you can see where that point's starting to be demonstrated. Whether or not he meant to kick the back end away, the Lamborghini just wants to keep turning in. The front end has so much available grip, the back end just doesn't want to follow. It's got all of the pros and cons of mid-engine. And out through that first turn, I do expect to see more trouble on the horizon for that Lambo. Now taking its time there into the S's, bringing it back to the pit lane towards the end of qualifying. 6 minutes left to go then, and he leads the timing charts in second at the moment. As we get a look into our timing charts here, it's Hayden Puttock driving home-built machinery here, the number 313 Honda NSX. Second fastest by 0.6 of a second, and only 200ths off of him is VSR Chris, former champion, and the only driver in the history of VSR to take multiple championships. He's back onto the field for the last round here. The number 28 BMW back into the fray with only 200ths between himself and Puttock. He makes third position and 3/10 ahead of Soviet Mario in fourth. Ford rounding out the top 5 then with a 4 and 5 position. Charter for the number 23 backing up the top 5 by about a second there. Wishful Winnings still hunting down solid results. Felt as if he was robbed by a disconnect in the last round, is looking to make up double time here in round 16 of the championship. VSRP in 6th then in the number 77 McLaren, ahead of Antion and Otzi in 7th and 8th. VSR Grizz in 9th position with Elite Cassie at the moment rounding out the top 10. Will stay on board with the Mercedes as they make their way down towards the line out of the Casio Triangle. And what we saw in that last qualifying session back in Nürburgring was razor precise stuff from the Mercedes. But here it seems to be a little bit out of its element coming into Suzuka. It's a track just a little too open, just a little too wide for the Mercedes to have that natural advantage that it had in the Nürburgring. The darling child of endurance racing, the Mercedes AMG, really starting to struggle. Nice to see that Skino at the moment somewhere out of turn 10. Behind him, Regent and Chris MCK08 get side by side. A bit of squirrely action there between the Ferrari and the Porsche. Good to see another Porsche on the field, though. Skino was originally planning to enter in the Nissan GTR, another icon of Japanese car culture, but has gone with the tried and true here, the Porsche 911 992 GT3R. We can see in the background there that Regent and Chris really experimenting now with the available room on the track limits here in Suzuka. Yet to see times out of the moment, at the moment, out of Regent. As we see here, that Ferrari really struggling to keep it in the white lines, keeping it in the clear and narrow as he runs wide out of the Casio triangle. Could it be further issues looming upon the horizon as he takes the alternative layout? We'll see what Chris MCK can do as he crosses the line ahead of him there. He's currently 13th from the number 81 car, crossing the line. Doesn't find an improvement for position. Right ahead of him there. He'll be sharing that row by the looks of things with Skino. Looking further up the order, Wishful Winnings still has yet to find the time to close the gap down to Soviet Mario. The gap between them is infinitesimal, one of the smallest gaps, save for the 200ths that we previously saw between Chris and Hayden. That has now opened up to just around a tenth of a second. And as a matter of fact, looking at it there, it's 99 thousandths of a second that you're looking at there. For Ford, ambitions still high to prove at the end of the season. 2 wins thus far, both of them from ETE Geels, but with 2 budding drivers at Ford now up in that top 5, Soviet and Wishful. Let's see what they can do as they cross the line. It was an improvement, and he's got to find 600ths to get the leg up on Soviet and get up into that second row for the start of the race. At the moment, we've only about 2 minutes left to go in qualifying. Constitutes 1 or maybe 2 more flying laps, depending on where you are on track at the moment, out of our drivers today. Things are looking a little bit dire then in the final round on what is supposed to be a little bit more of a somber note. The intensity has done very little to die down, and I think that's starting to get to Regent here in the number 420. He has been struggling to keep it in the clear and narrow for a qualifying time. We'll see what he can do then as we follow on out of Spoon Curve, out of turn 14 and down towards turn 15 at 130R. Ahead of him there, Chris MCK08. They almost came together out of turn 11 in the lap just gone by. Heading down through the Casio triangle as VSR Chris takes the second fastest time on our charts at the moment. Relegating... Oh, no, hang on. There appears to be a disconnect to them from the Honda. Hayden Puttick taking a disqualification. And that is a very sudden turn because we thought that was a disconnect, but as a matter of fact, Hayden Puttick has been disqualified from quali. That gives VSR Chris the front row. He'll be fighting Just Boris down towards turn 1 and 2. It gives Soviet Mario and Wishful Winnings the second row for Ford. And it gives Elite Cassie a top 5 start. So that's a sudden shift as Regent gets down towards, what was that there? Turn, okay, on the map, turn 3 and 4 has gone off into the gravel and has called it quits on his qualifying run. He'll be starting in, at the best of it right now, 14th position. Elite Cassie, Wishful Winnings and VSR Chris still out on track on flying lap conditions. Wishful Winnings coming into the pits then is content with a second row start and confident that Elite Cassie can't find the 4 attempts necessary to take position off of him at the end of qualifying. Well, the Mercedes is looking rather hot going into turn 1, sector 1 I should say, out through turn 5, 6 and now turn 7. It is looking very, very fast today. Elite Cassie, despite last week's endeavours, has not lost even a shred of confidence coming into round 16. At the moment then, at the end of qualifying, Just Boris remains in the pits, taking what appears to be pole position, though there are seldom any challengers besides Cassie left to take that off of him. Out of the Degners and up towards the hairpin. 3 disqualifications, a record high then in the end of VSR Season 7. Coming out of the 313, Hayden Puttick, number 92 of Skino, and the number 71 of Tommy Johansson. We also have no contest from Regent, Tyler Vermack, VSR Twiglet, and the Blue Frog. The last of our cars then on track, out through Spoon. It was a very strong opening sector. What can Elite Cassie do then towards the end of this flying lap to chain everything together in the Mercedes? You know that he is quite the savant when it comes to last lap glory in the qualifying sessions. So out towards 130R, we'll see what the Mercedes is capable of. Oh, it's a big spin off there. Had any eyes seen that, that would have almost looked like he pulled the handbrakes. Let's just watch that back at the end of qualifying. You can see he is going strong, going down into 130R. We'll get a full run down of the grid going into the grid formation in a moment's time. You can see over the curbs. Yeah, just steers it. He knew he didn't have the time going into the Casio triangle and just steered it into the wall. That's the end of qualifying then for round 16. We'll get the full grid in a moment's time for the last round of the championship. Sadly, no news to report today. It's been a bit of a dry one in the world of motorsports. Not really much to report on in the way of things. Of course, we discussed in the broadcasts over the course of last week that it is now confirmed the FIA will be meeting with engine manufacturers coming into the Bahrain Grand Prix, both current and future to be, such as Audi, Ford and Cadillac, to discuss the potential return to V10 regulations in Formula 1. We know nothing more at this time, but we do now know with certainty that these meetings are going ahead. And the FIA is floating the idea of returning to the V10s. I wonder, though, to the viewers in chat, would that be enough to save Formula 1 in its current state? Sadly, for as much as the nostalgia does ring true that I would love to see the V10s come back to Formula 1, I think there is a lot more blatantly wrong with the cars at the current time, especially going into the new wave of regulations, that I don't think a V10 is going to be enough to soften the blow. Nonetheless, though, moving in to the task at hand. It's the formation grid for round 16 to bring about the end of Season 7. Still 2 more championships left to decide, silver and bronze. We'll get onto the discussion of that over the formation lap, but starting us off here on the front row is Just Boris on his development drive with Lamborghini, and what a development opener it has been. Of course, one mandated pit stop on the horizon for him here. And starting alongside him is VSR Chris on his return in the number 28 BMW. Do just hold on with us a moment here. Apologies for the interruption. Back to the grid then. It's an all-forward second row with Soviet Mario and Wishful Winnings in the 26 and 23. Rounding out our top 5 then, VSR Pete with McLaren. Right behind him, VSR Antion, one of the potential drivers to be in the Bronze Championship, leading at the moment by 24 points. It's looking very strong for the number 1 and a very high up position with no apparent sight of his contemporaries. It may very well be a done deal then for VSR Antion. Behind him then is VSR Grizz and Otzi, one of the budding drivers for the Silver Championship. They start in 8th position. Rounding out the top 10 is Aussie 207 on one of his best qualifying performances since his debut earlier on this season. And Chris MCK08 inside the top 10 with Porsche. Behind them, VSR Abok in the number 27 BMW. Taz MCFC now joining with Ferrari on the final round of the championship, leaving Ford now donning the 296 for this round. And he's one of 3 in a row there, heading down into the next row. Behind him in P13 and P14 is Regent and Tyler Vermack. VSR Twiglet starts 15th. Behind him is the Blue Frog in 16th position. Skino 17th. Tommy Johansson 18th. Hayden Puttock 19th. And Elite Cassie, after a disconnect, is down to 20th. That has got to really, really sting, as that disconnect has reset his grid position. It's nullified his qualifying laps. No data to provide, and the Mercedes now starts dead last.
30 seconds.
With a 30-second warning given, then the real discussion is going to be for our remaining championships at hand. Now, of course, there's always the prevalent discussion of who's going to win the race today. Your most likely pundits are up in those 2 rows at the front there. Just Boris, VSR Chris, Soviet Mario and Wishful Winnings. It's an ultra-competitive top 4 rounding out as well. You've also got VSR Pete in the top 5, so that makes 5's company down into turn 1 and 2. We want to discuss then the potential drive for the career here for the Silver Championship for VSR Otzi. Getting a look as we take us into the formation lap, taking us away there. Just Boris in the 999. VSR Otzi slowly emerging into sight there. He's behind Antion in the black and red, number 6 Aston Martin. In order to win this, he has to finish ahead by all circumstances and get points in this round. Right now, he's in a very comfortable position, eerily close to solidifying the championship bid. Oh, what happened there in the background? A car already sideways. And who is that there having trouble? It's Taz on his debut drive with Ferrari. So maybe not the best of starts. One definite way to warm those tyres up, but a healthy dose of grass there on those tyres is not going to make things easy. He's going to be spending the rest of that lap trying to dust those off. And as far as I'm led to believe here, we can't actually see Funky Fish on the field. So now we're in almost a certified position to crown 2 more champions in this round. We'll give it till the checkered flag in honour of the game. So we check here with that second row. Backing up the second row then, Wishful Winnings. Looking for a redemption drive after the blunders at Nürburgring saw a disconnect take him out of the fight. He was in a very good stead for the opening of the Nürburgring round in round 15. Of course, taking a look at our calendar, you need no further introductions to where we're at. We're right at the checkered flag now for Season 7's calendar. And what has been 14 weeks we've been alongside you at VSR, and it's been a fantastic time to cover events. Honestly, one of the best seasons I've been able to cover. A pleasant surprise. Such a varied grid. Such a diverse crowd of talent. Brilliant stuff. We're already enthusiastic to be on board with the VSR guys going into Season 8, wherever their endeavours may take them. We at TRTN more than happily look forward to the next opportunities coming up. Checking in then with our final grid. 20 drivers in attendance for this round. It'll be 10 either side of it on our way down towards turn 1 and 2. Things could get messy here in Suzuka. They always do. Looking around the field then, Soviet Mario backing up that front row. Eyeing up from the front of the second row. Those Fords, as we know, supreme in a straight line. And well, we've got one of the best runs there down towards turn 1 and 2. A very late run to the start-finish line, so could make for an interesting sort of a reaction-based start for our drivers there. It's really going to be reliant on how quickly you can get your foot to the floor. For that Lamborghini, there is that great degree of anxiety. The only naturally aspirated car in that front row, and the Lamborghini isn't renowned for its acceleration. So things ought to get very interesting coming into this round. We can see down the field there as well, a proper ensemble crowd. Astons, Porsches, Ferraris, BMWs, Lexuses, the singular Lexus, so on and so forth. Let's get on board with our leading car, the number 999, an ever so familiar sight at the front of the grid. But now the 999 adorns this bright pink Lamborghini Huracan. Just Boris on his first drive this season, then on the last round of this season. Starts from the front. There's Hayden Puttock with Honda. Curiosity as to what the Honda is up to. Taking us down towards the line then. We are but moments away for the start of round 16, the final round here of Season 7. To bring a close to what has been a fantastic championship. It's 10 cars either side of it, 20 cars in all. As we go now rolling out of the Casio Triangle down towards turn 1 and 2 for the first time here in Suzuka. Home of the Japanese Grand Prix, home of Super GT, home of Super Formula, now home to the final round of VSR Season 7 here on ACC. Slow crawl down to the line, our final dance here in VSR. Without further ado then, ladies and gents, we are green and racing here in the land of the rising sun, and a great start by the front row already. The anxieties quickly heard there by the Lamborghini on our run down towards turn 1 and 2. The BMW just couldn't find the way on the inside on Just Boris. Now has to deal with the two Mustangs clawing at his ankles there on our way down into the S's for the first time. It looks like a fairly so far so good start for most of our drivers here as we go into the S's. This is major crunch time now. This is absolutely where we're going to start to see a bit of the side-by-side, a little bit of the door banging, perhaps even a few offs. But it's looking so far so good. You can see in the background, no trouble towards the back of the grid. with Otzi out of the Dunlop curve. Turn 7 brings us to the Degners for the first time. We'll watch here from the middle of the crowd. You can see further up ahead already action kicking off in front of him inside that top 5. Pete ahead of him there in the McLaren. Already our drivers tackling the Degner curves, the toughest section of the track by many regards. Out through turn 8 and turn 9. Cassie and the... Oh, there is a big incident in the background. Vermac was caught up in there, as was, looking at it there, the Blue Frog and Abok. Both BMWs in trouble. See here with Tommy Johansson. Skino gets up and alongside him at turn 11. The Porsche looking to make things interesting. You can see Vermac around the outside at the moment of Hayden Puttick. Things also looking to get interesting towards the back of the top 15. Watching here from Tommy Johansson's perspective. We want to try and get on board, though, with the fight going on further up the line from him. Vermac there with Hayden Puttick. This is for 15th position. Honda versus Ferrari out through turn 14 on our way down towards 130R. It's still going to be side by side between the pair of them. The Honda having a little bit more grunt here. It's the battle of the V6s. Honda versus Ferrari down towards 130R. But Max sadly couldn't get that move in. We're going to get a look back up at the top 5 then. See what the state of affairs is going on here with our top 5. VSR Pete backing up the top 5 at the moment. You can see in the background, Grizz and Otzi looking to fight almost instantly there for 6th position. Aston versus McLaren down towards turn 1 and 2. Things are looking to close up very, very quickly there inside the top 4. We're looking here very quickly with Aussie 207. Hayden Puttick to the inside at turn 1. The Honda's getting it very, very, very close to the Aston. Right in front of him, the Lexus side by side with Chris MCKOA. Aussie runs wide on his way into the S's for Mac. Swings across the nose. Skino nearly collected by the Aston there on our way into the S's here on what is fundamentally lap 1. Wishful Winnings taking a very big dose of grass there out of turn 7. As we head down into the Degners, Pete's all over him. We're looking at the fight for 4. Further up the road, we're looking at the fight for 2nd between Soviet and Chris. So you can see there, Wishful really giving it hell for leather to try and stay ahead of the McLaren. Clawing at his back there, trying to get up into the top 4. Looking from Soviet's perspective, though, this is the battle for 2nd. We're watching the attacking car, number 26, Soviet Mario with Ford. .4 of a second. See, it is a real sort of bullfight here between these two. The BMW and the Mustang, of course, we cannot say this enough. Oh, actually, I believe our timing charts are wrong there. So just a clarification, we've had a bit of a technical malfunction with the timer. The number 96 is in, that's VSR Twiglet. Already trouble for the Lexus. We're still watching the fight for 2nd. Do bear with us as we try to fix the timing chart at the top, the timer for the race. And so our timer should return right about now. And there we go. 54 minutes, 55 seconds left to go. It was side by side between the Mustang and the BMW. Fortunately, we were able to get technical malfunctions sorted out almost instantly, but the BMW's back out in front. Soviet wasn't happy with the move that he made there, but it's allowed Wishful Winnings the run. Now up to what is the fight of 3rd position between the two Mustangs. Fundamentally still the fight for 2nd with the BMW right in front of the pair of them. Thanks for very interesting action then inside our top 4. That could soon become 4's company with the introduction of VSR Pete. Still just an onlooker at the moment of this 3-car battle. Stay on board here with Soviet Mario, who's got the best seat in the house here in the fight between the cars in front of him. Wishful Winnings and VSR Chris into one of the tightest sections of the track coming up. 130R gives rise to side by side, and he backs out of it there. That hesitation is going to fall into the hands of Soviet Mario as he's gone hell for leather through 130R, just far enough away to have no aero stall on that Mustang on his way round turn 15. Meanwhile, Just Boris still leads, and by a growing margin, nearly 5 seconds to the cars on screen at the moment. These two absolutely rocketing their way down the opening straight. Wishful Winnings takes it to the inside. We're still watching with Soviet Mario. And we'll get a look on board the dash of the Mustang as they go side by side into turn 1. It's a minor contact between the pair of them, dinging doors out through the first curve. Out through turn 2 then. Wishful was back out in front. It's contact, spun around. There goes the number 23. So up into third goes Soviet Mario. VSR Chris getting his elbows out. He was not happy at all there with the chicanery of that Mustang, especially out through the last couple of sectors on track. Still looking at that fight for second. Could that knock potentially have done some potentially unseen damage on the underside of that BMW, warping something out of place there? See as well, with drivers getting more and more confident over the Degno, there is that imminent risk of under tray damage, which, while you can't see it from our perspective, is a night and day difference in handling for our drivers. Down towards turn 11 then. It becomes Three's company, much to the chagrin then of Wishful Winnings, as VSR Pete joins the fight from 4th position, formerly 5th. As we go heading down into Spoon. Soviet ambitious for a front row finish by the end of this season. He's very, very close to being able to do so, and finally back side by side with VSR Chris, the only driver in VSR history to win multiple championships. And it looks to be side by side action all the way down to 130R now. Will he back out in where the ways that Wishful Winnings did, or is he going to keep it committed? He's going to keep it committed almost all the way through. Both of them on differing lines there. VSR Chris had to run it the long way around town to keep position. Contact between Pete and Soviet down into the Casio. So already within 10 minutes, absolute bedlam erupting on the grid, especially up in those airtight top 5 positions. And Wishful Winnings is out of that top 5, being one of the most important stories to have come from it. You can see behind as well. We get on board here in the fight, growing fight mind you, with multiple cars involved for 5th position. This is from the perspective of Regent as he tries to take things the long way around on Antion. Wishful Winnings is right behind him. Antion goes side by side with Grizz, both all-stars in the bronze category. Regent still looking to make this close. Out through the S's we go then, the camera's barely following their every move. So quick, blink and you'll miss it action inside the top 10. Wishful Winnings now hunting down the position he lost out on from VSR Chris. He'll be hunting down at least a front row by the end of this race. He's definitely got it in the bag here pace-wise to hunt for a podium at the bare minimum. Down into the Degner curve, it's OT from Grizz, Antion, Regent and Wishful Winnings there, all the way down to P8. Further up the road you can see VSR Pete, Soviet Mario and VSR Chris, with Just Boris leading the race. Looking from the perspective, though, the 2 bronze cars, it's contact with Grizz and Antion, and that's going to allow Regent to just run around the action there. Otzi still in a comfortable position. Grizz has been taken around. He now gets overtaken by Skino, runs up into 9th position. It also did a great deal to hold up Wishful Winnings on his pursuit of the top 5. For Regent, though, he won't be complaining. A minor knock on the Ferrari as he got his way around the chaos. But he's up into a very comfortable 6th position for the time being, and now ahead of VSR Antion, who's on the bookings at the moment to win the bronze championship. See here, Tyler Vermack catching up to VSR Grizz. Vermack took a qualifying ban for this round, hence his far back starting position, but this is his ticket into the top 10. We watch down in the Casio triangle, Grizz struggling with the number 44 car. The yellow flags are out, it's for the number 98. That being, I believe, Elite Cassie in trouble then. The Mercedes appears to be the next one in trouble. Looking around, this is a 130R. Oh, it's not looking good there. He's in the gravel. Not entirely sure what happened to the Mercedes at this time, but if being at 130R, that area of the track is any indication, I want to see the other side of that Mercedes as he peels it back round. Doesn't look like anything too crazy from... Oh, okay, maybe he needs to show us that the car was damaged, or the steering is absolutely decimated. Whatever did happen, though, Elite Cassie out of this race here in Suzuka. That'll be a retirement for the number 98, inoperable to take the Casio Triangle. Will not see the checkered flag. That's a bittersweet ending for Elite Cassie's prospects in Season 7. We hope to see him in Season 8 as one of the star drivers after Bathurst. Watching here with Hayden Puttock in the 313, the Alpha Tauri-clad Honda NSX on his way out through the Degner curves. He's chasing Tommy Johansson for 12th position. Bear in mind as well in this race, we still have a mandated pit stop on the horizon. Do expect that around the aforementioned 32 to 28 minute mark. Of course, our drivers have made it a routine habit to defy these expectations, pitting later and later every time. So we see here that fight for 12th position. Now from the defending car's perspective, Tommy Johansson trying to hold off Hayden Puttock. Side by side then, Aston Martin versus Honda. AMG engine versus Honda Motorsports engine, but coming out on top, out through 130R, is Hayden Puttock in the 313. So we're going to get on board. We can see already a battle unfolding in front of our eyes here. Regent chasing down VSR Otzi. Now this is the fight for 5th position. We're watching the perspective right now of the Ferrari as it guns very wide. They're out of turn 1. What on earth happened for the number 420? Getting a replay on that as we check to see the condition of the cars up ahead. We also see that Antion's in trouble out through turn 2. So already chaos erupting. Just has to dodge. Otzi takes a sacrificial leap there. We're watching here. Chris MCK08's also in the pits. You see further up the line, that's the Blue Frog. Now taking their first and mandated pit stop to repair the car. Chris MCK08, minor damage on the number 81, is into the pit. Speaking of Porsches, here's the number 92 of Skino. Otherwise going by ETE Skino as last drive. Looking at our graphics here, because this was quite an unprompted sight here, was with Ferrari, now drives with Porsche. And this is sort of among the more interesting parts of being able to cover a post-championship season race, is that the sort of variety on display for our drivers. Now there's no consequence in changing cars. They're free to experiment. We've seen that work in some ways very well, save for just Boris moving from McLaren to Lamborghini coming into this round. We'll see whether or not it works out for Skino moving from Ferrari to Porsche. See there, trouble between Vermaak and Puttock. The two side by side formerly. On our way down to 130R, Puttock now ahead of Vermaak and up into the top 10. Chasing VSR Grizz. It could be 2-3 positions on the horizon. We make our way to the Casio. On the inside goes Tyler Vermaak. Cutting the chicane is Grizz. Regent with damage on the nose of that Ferrari. In hot pursuit right now is the Ferrari and the Honda. Vermaak being held off by VSR Grizz. McLaren and Ferrari side by side. This is all in contention for 9th position. On our way down towards turn 1 and 2, we're watching with the car 2 positions behind. Hayden Puttock in the Honda. Contacts with Grizz. Out of turn 2, he lets the McLaren keep running. Fortunately, it wasn't a full spin around as we make our way into the S's. Meanwhile, Tyler Vermaak's up to 8th. He's chasing Regent for 7th position. Let's get a look on board with that then, as we go up the order to investigate. See here, Regent now under siege from Tyler Vermaak. This is the fight for 7th position on our hands. We're watching the perspective right now. The defending car, the number 420, against the number 94. Out through the Degner curves then. and up towards the hairpin, turns 10-11. We've seen this to be a major action spot already. Is Tyler Vermaak going to try for a move to the inside? No, because he's held off at turn 11 by Regent. All the meanwhile, you can see Grizz and Putic catching up very, very quickly. These two are going to keep tripping over each other in these tight sections of the track. Unless Vermaak can forge a move in the next couple of corners, he may very well find himself sandwiched between two major fights here inside the top 10. For Regent, the world rests on his shoulders there with damage over that Ferrari out through turn 1. He's got a salvage drive on his hands with 43 minutes left to go in this race. Down to 130R. The two battles split apart again. The battle for 9th position still roaring on. Out through 130R, we see the battle in front for 7th. Tyler Vermaak's going to try and take it around the outside. Not if Regent's got anything to say about it. And believe me, he does. Through turn 16, now becomes turn 17. They're still side by side, but with better momentum on the racing line. Tyler Vermaak's up a position. Regent jumps for the pit lane as we're going to keep on board with Tyler Vermaak now up into 7th, and is going to have to start considering his options in fending off both Grizz and Putic. Not too far behind as well as Tommy Johansson and the number 71 Aston. Side by side as well. Putic's up to 8th and ahead of Grizz. Very well crafted move there. Second time's the charm at the first curve for the Honda, number 313. Up into the S as we go then. And with over a quarter of an hour covered into this race, looking at our standings at the moment, Josh Boris leads this race by nearly 10 seconds to VSR Chris in second with BMW. Only about a second behind him at the moment is Soviet Mario in third. We'll get back on board though. Our fight for 7th position between Putic and Vermaak. Further down the order then, VSR Pete in 4th, VSR Otzi in the top 5, looking to secure the Silver Championship here and now. It's his last opportunity to do so, and looks to be one that he's taken to great effect then. Wishful winnings in the top 6, and right now watching that fight for 7th, Honda versus Ferrari down through turn 10, makes turn 11. Is Putic going to try for the inside at the hairpin? Don't believe so. Holds his nerve after the apex, still makes it side by side. Battle of the V6s now. All the way down to Spoon. Putic's trying for the long game here. He's got more momentum in that 3.5 litre V6 now. On his way down towards turn 13, clips the nose off the Ferrari. Vermaak forced down a position. He's down at 8th. Putic up to 7th. And with that exchange of position continuing down the order, it's VSR Grizz in 9th position and Tommy Johansson rounding out the top 10. Antti on 11th, Aussie 12th, Abbott 13th, Regent 14th, Blue Frog 15th, Chris in 16th, Twiglet in 17th. Those two potential DNFs. So we've lost quite the myriad of drivers on the first quarter of an hour of racing. We check here with Tyler Vermaak. What are his options for striking back here on Hayden Putic? And what has been a very grand battle between the pair of them. Now looking with the Honda. Now, unorthodox a choice as it may be, this is the 296 before the 296. Of course, you look at it on paper, 3.5 litre V6 engine, mid-engine rear drive, very nimble. A tad unstable, but a very, very competent pack fighting machine. This was what the players had at their disposal before the 296 came along. You can see that long-winded support from the fan base towards the Honda is definitely given for great, great setups. And right now in the hands of Hayden Putic, it is being wielded to great effect. The number 313 then takes 7th position and is starting to pull away a gap to the Ferrari behind him. Looking around at the moment, Grizz is catching, slowly but surely, as we make our way to the Degners, he is catching Tyler Vermaak. We could see a battle for 8th on our hands here. Currently 0.6 of a second. We must consider as well, not too far away, is the Aston we mentioned before, number 71, Tommy Johansson, who could find his way into the fight if things go south between the pair on their way out of turn 11. You can see it's that strange exit line from turn 11. It does set Vermaak up for a good run to Spoon, but it clips a lot of his momentum. And that's what Grizz is leveraging at the moment to keep himself in line with that Ferrari through Sector 3. So out through turns 13 and 14. Really trying to get inside the head now of both of these drivers to see sort of where their headspace is at in this fight. 40 minutes left to go in this race. For these drivers, it's definitely a case where a lot of them are no longer in that position to fight for the championship. It looks all but wrapped up at the moment for Otzi to win in silver and for Antion to win in bronze. We already know the gold championship's been wrapped up for a few rounds already. So you are seeing very raw driving out of these drivers now. They have absolutely nothing to lose, and with the season coming to a close, all they really risk is their own sort of reputation amongst the masses. So these drivers are going to give it absolutely hell for leather in most regards through every single corner. You're seeing visceral racing in GT3 today. So out through turn 2, makes turn 3. We're staying on board with Grizz as he follows Vermac. This is for 8th position at the moment. We'll get a look around to see where our other battles could be coming from. We can see still quite close between 2nd and 3rd. Checking in though with the car in 9th position. We also see it is very close between Otzi and Wishful. That is a battle to watch. We'll be getting on board with them in a moment's time. Still seeing where the penny drops here in the fight for 8 between Grizz and Vermac. As you can see, Grizz runs it wide out of the first Degner, so this could be the fight for 9th position on our hands as Tommy Johansson starts to peel into frame in the Aston Martin. Now just around a second away. It's nearly equal gaps between these three. As you can see further up ahead, let's get a view of that. It was nearly 3 abreast on the way out through turn 11. What on earth was going on with these drivers here? Hayden Puttock, VSR Otzi and Wishful winnings. Now this is an absolute melee for 5th position. Puttock takes the initiative through turn 13. Now makes turn 14. Wishful winnings trying to follow it on the inside. We can see in the background it was minor contact between the Aston and the Mustang. In a confident top 5 now, though, is Hayden Puttock. Started towards the back of the field. Has had an absolute blinder of a race with Honda on their home race here in Suzuka. Looking then behind, we want to try and get on board with Otzi as he fights right now for 6th position. Snatched off of him at Spoon. Something direly wrong with the Aston Martin here in Suzuka. One mistake gave rise to this domino effect that set him down 2 positions from where we saw him last. Let's see what Otzi can do over the course of this lap. Still on board for the fight of 6th position. Otzi starting to lose time to the Mustang ahead of him. Wishful winning slowly but surely, carving away time then to try and catch back up to Hayden Puttock, who is long gone now, scattered to the wind inside that top 5. Looking here then, Tommy Johansson slowly reeling in Tyler Vermac. Now the last time we caught up with these three, Grizz was under dangerously close sight from the Ferrari to potentially having been fought for that position, but right now it seems to have totally flipped on its head. The Aston is now pursuing the Ferrari from behind. So watching here with Tommy Johansson, Tyler Vermac runs it wide there through turn 1, but it's to give him that angle for turn 2. The Aston just surfing the middle of the road there, taking it nice and easy in through turn 1 and 2, now turn 3 and turn 4. slowly but surely chipping away at that Ferrari. You can see big tail slide by the number 94. Something definitely wrong over the rear axle. Out through turn 7 now. The Dunlop curve gives rise to Degner. We are witnessing now the battle of 9th position. Out through Degner 1, now Degner 2, turn 9. To be able to hear the wonderful overrun on that Aston Martin going out of turn 11 or diving down towards turn 10. We do have word at the moment that Antion has lost connection. We're going to go investigate this as we've had him chime in our Twitch chat there. So having a look at those bronze standings, just to see where the penny drops here. We do try and check around, and yes, our suspicions are all but confirmed. We're seeing here Grizz go side by side though with Otzi. Let's keep on board with these two making real theatrics here at the Casio Triangle. Otzi defending from Grizz, right behind him Vermaak and Johansson on our way down towards the line. Right now watching that fight for 7th position. Staying on board then with VSR Grizz. And having a look at those bronze standings to see exactly where the penny drops. Now that both Antion and Smiler appear to be out of this race. Abok the only one left to try and score points. Now maximum points for this round is 50. That still numerically puts him out of either stead of taking 2nd or 1st. So for all intents and purposes, by the looks of having neither of our contending duo, the ones closest to each other in this race, that leaves Antion still with even though a DNF at this round, with the bronze championship title. So it may not all be hope lost for Antion, real name Antonio Angeletta, also having the pleasure of having covered his process through the VSR endurance team in NLRL. However, Antion has won the bronze category by technicality there. I mean, it was also a combination of fantastic driving over the season, but it seems that every piece has now fallen into place to where now in this round, even despite a DNF, he's in the clear. Staying on board though, this fight for 7th position. It's now fundamentally that fight for 6th ahead. Otzi defending 6th, Tyler Vermaak attacking 7th. Grizz caught firmly in the middle here, struggling to choose. Do I prioritise attacking? Do I prioritise defending? It's 4 cars in company for 6th position as we go down to 130i. You can see Tommy Johansson eyeing up an inside move in the future on Tyler Vermaak. Otzi runs it wide. Grizz stays in the clear and narrow, going for around the outside again at the Casio Triangle. Is he going to make it stick this time around? It does appear so. Up into 6th position goes VSR Grizz. Tyler Vermaak now side by side with VSR Otzi on our way down towards the timing line here to start lap 14. Ahead of them there, that's Wishful Winnings. Up inside the top 5. This has now become the battle for 5th, so it appears. Having past cars already gone into the pit lane. Vermaak holds on to 6th position. Grizz holds on to 5th. Otzi right behind them then, still vying for a win here in the Silver Championship. Nearing that halfway mark, so do expect to see more shifts in the grid order as we get on towards our mandated pit stop timing window. Out through turn 6, now makes turn 7. Vermaak ruthlessly pursuing Grizz. Now you can really see he's been able to light up the number 94. It's firing on all cylinders to hunt down the McLaren in front of him. Out through Degner 1 into Degner 2. You can see just how close they keep it to one another here, especially on the exit of turn 9. You can see in the background Otzi and his fellow Aston Martin of Tommy Johansson are getting closer and closer to one another. There is an imminent fight on our hands then for 7th between the two Astons, number 6 and number 71. Right now, as we hit the halfway mark of the race, we're watching the fight for 5th. VSR Grizz and number 44, the white and green McLaren, versus the black and gold number 94 Ferrari 296 of Tyler Vermaak. Out through Spoon we go. Now getting a look over the rear view. Peering over the rear spoiler on that McLaren to see just how close the Ferrari is on our run down the national pit straight. Down towards 130R. You can see Grizz has got just this supreme control on that McLaren, even in the midst of battle. I say that as he runs wide, overcooks his brakes into the Casio triangle. But Mack won't be happy there, seeing that he's cut the chicane and still kept position. Nonetheless, he's going to pursue him down the opening straight, and he's got better momentum to do so. Back on what I was saying, of all the drivers at the moment, he seems to have this supreme control, even in amongst pack fighting, over that nose of the McLaren going into 130R, where we see so many people run it wide or so many people cut it short. He's always got the perfect line there. That's giving him such great edge in the number 44. Whatever he's got set up on that McLaren through 130R, it is borderline unparalleled. Still watching that fight for 5th. Behind them as well, that fight for 7th, 7/10ths of a second, I should say. Apart from one another at this time, the two Astons still holding position. Grizz being chased down by Tyler Vermack as we look past the halfway mark with plenty of our drivers still yet to take pit stops. Just Boris still leads 15 laps strong in the 999 Lamborghini. VSR Chris second, Soviet and Wishful Winnings make a very comfortable second row for Ford. They've maintained position. No changes inside the top 4, but there looks to be changes inside the top 5. VSR Grizz holding on vehemently to 5th position there after having run wide out of turn 11. Makes turn 12 now on our way down towards Spoon Curve. Tyler Vermack is right on top of him in that Ferrari. Is he going to try for a move towards the inside? Backs out of it at turn 13. Trying to get inside the brain now of the McLaren in front of him. Trying to get in his head, start and put the pressure, fake out some moves on him. Making our way down the national pit straight. It is still razor thin between these two on their way down towards 130R. High intensity section of the track coming up. We know the McLaren is very strong through this, but how much more can it take really? Out through 130R you can see Vermack is slowly catching on to the tricks here by the number 44. Slowly mimicking what Grizz is doing through 130R to stay as close as he possibly can. And as Grizz dives for the pit lane, Tyler Vermack jumps up to 5th position there. Wishful Winnings also in the pit lane. VSR Oatsy's in as well. So a lively pit lane here at the midway. Right on schedule. Looking around the field then, you can see Grizz and Oatsy. Ahead of them was Wishful Winnings. Also in the pit lane is Soviet Mario. So double trouble for the Ford Motor Company. Tommy Johansson then, when our cameras inevitably decide to catch up to him, makes his way up to 4th. Tyler Vermack now up to 3rd with the elimination of that second row. They both took their leap of the pit lane. Our front row all but secured right now. VSR Chris, we can see here, making his way down towards Spoon. We'll get on board with the leading car, that being the number 999, as ever. A very familiar sight at the top step, that number, and that driver as well. Just Boris, who has shared in a fantastic championship. We crowned him champion back in Donington, as that was the kind of gap he was forging out, but this is his development drive now at the twilight of this season. Swapping from McLaren to Lamborghini, could this be a harbinger of things to come for Boris going into season 8? We'll see if he makes the decision to make his way to the pit lane. No, he doesn't. Even after some latent grip troubles through 130R in the Casio triangle, you can see exiting the pits ahead of him there, VSR Oatsy and Wishful Winnings. 25.5 minutes left to go here on the final round of the championship. Oatsy is only a few more laps away from being crowned the silver champion, with the bronze championship now all but wrapped up, with Antion looking to win in bronze in the number 1 Ferrari. The only one we're still waiting to see results out of here is VSR Oatsy. And with Funky Fish not being present, it's all but wrapped up, but I think for him it's now about the satisfaction of having took the checkered flag on the final round and fighting all the way to the line. We have seen him in his fair share of battles today in that Aston Martin. Now is in a very comfortable zone on track. He's 4.1 seconds from the nearest car, and that being Just Boris, who will be showing the blue flags to him in a moment's time. Right behind him you can see his Wishful Winnings, who rejoins in 10th position. Grizz nearly 7 seconds up the road. Oatsy in a very comfortable position at this leg of the race. You can see now both VSR Chris and Tommy Johansson, the BMW and the Aston Martin, are into the pit lane next. You can see there, that's VSR Twiglet in the number 96. That's functionally a DNF for Lexus, and that's got to be a bittersweet feeling at their home race for Lexus and Toyota Group. See here, Wishful Winnings trying to toe the line on the leading car to try and give himself some momentum on his way towards VSR OT. He's got a clear 4 seconds there to get to the Aston Martin ahead. We'll see what his efforts are in the next 24 minutes of this race. At the moment, Soviet Mario re-enters the track in 4th position. Though our timing charts are struggling to update. I believe it could even be 3rd for Soviet, with VSR Chris appearing behind him. So yes, it's updated now. He's re-entered the track in 3rd position ahead of VSR Chris. So a successful strategy by Ford at the moment. By the way things are going, once Tyler Vermack and Just Boris enter the pit lane, it could be even more positions on the horizon for Soviet Mario and for the Ford Motor Racing team. Ford Performance now with 3 wins this season. Of course, like we mentioned before, both of them came at the hands of ETE Geels. Could we see a new name then towards the front? It's been a very strong performance at the moment by Just Boris, but with signs showing a little bit of uncertainty, a little bit of insecurity on the way that Lamborghini is properly handling around this track. You can see he's in the pit lane now on our map. Joining him very shortly appears to be the number 94 on its way out the Casio Triangle. What will Tyler Vermack do? Will he go on to try and lead this race and go very long for the pit strategy? You can see slowing down out of turn 18. Does appear to be the case that Vermack is going into the pits as well. There, it's all but confirmed on the left-hand side. So for Soviet Mario, let's see where the penny drops. It is not a long pit stop procedure here in Suzuka. The 999 may be off its jacks by the time we exit the Casio Triangle. But Soviet Mario is looking almost certain there of 2nd position. The 999's back out on track. Where does the penny drop for Tyler Vermack in the number 94? As we see here with soon to be 2nd and 3rd, you're looking at the back of our podium now, crossing up into 2nd. VSR Chris also follows him for 3rd. Tyler Vermack is yet to exit that pit lane. Soviet up into 2nd, a very strong result so far, but with 22 minutes to the checkered flag, he's got to make every move count now as that gap is continuing to narrow. It was 2.3 seconds last lap gone, it's 1.7 seconds now. Like it or not, VSR Chris is closing in and coming very, very soon to within a chance of 2nd position being retaken. Speaking of, this is VSR Chris. Been a long time since we've covered this one. Having took a hiatus over the course of the last couple of rounds, the BMW back into action and has not lost any steam in the process. It's come out with both arms swinging. Out through the Degner curves we go then. Gotta say, it has been quite some time since we've seen a yellow flag. I'd consider ourselves fortunate here in this race at the moment. We've not seen any more major trouble. Looking around the field then, after the majority of our pit stops have concluded for our drivers, let's see where our next battles are coming from. It looks to be the battle at the moment for 9th position. Tyler Vermack chasing down Tommy Johansson. Aston Martin versus Ferrari for control over 9th position. Vermack will be on the attacking. Johansson looks to defend. This is among the first times we've been able to properly observe what his defending posture looks like. His defending posture looks like for Tommy Johansson. We watch now that battle of 9th position. Vermack in hot pursuit then in the number 94. Can see that the Aston's just got so much grunt out of these corners here. That AMG motor under the bonnet is doing him very, very good service at the moment. We've noticed after that pit stop as well that Ferrari's really struggled to maintain core heat in the tyres. You can see it in the way that Vermack's having to wrestle the nose of that 296 through most of the corners. Especially we saw that quite clearly demonstrated at turns 13 and 14. Whatever has gone on since he swapped over on those tyres, they've been incredibly stubborn. He's not been able to extract anywhere near the amount of performance he could on the opening half. But we can see not that it matters because there's been a mistake up ahead by Tommy Johansson. And up into 9th position goes Tyler Vermack. Holding his nerve there quite diligently out through 130R and down into their very, very heavy braking zone at the Casio Triangle. Tommy Johansson will be beside himself for such a mistake. Looking around the field, Hayden Puttick then returns to the top 5. Ahead of him there, the car in 14th. Being shown the blue flags very shortly. The Blue Frog, the number 61. VSR Pete's up in 4th, Chris in 3rd. And looking back towards our front rows, Soviet and Just Boris only 8 seconds apart from one another. It's lonely at the top for Just Boris, having constituted over half of all race wins this season. In fact, that's a metric that carries almost to 3/4 of all race wins this season. With this looking to be another to add to his repertoire. Looking at those previous wins, it's very hard to not see the amount of times the same name appears. You can see having led 6 rounds on the trot, then returning to the top step for 2 more rounds at rounds 9 and 10, making 8 race wins, and then 2 more for good favour in rounds 12 and 13, making 10 wins this season. There has only been 5 times where this man has not adorned the top step of the podium. Today doesn't appear to be such a day, and on his first drive in Season 7 with Lamborghini, it is very hard to deny just what calibre a driver Just Boris is in this field. It's any secret how he managed to get to the Gold Championship lead, and furthermore carried that with such iron vice to the end of the season, to where he was crowned champion not 1 but 2 rounds ago at the end of the Donington Sprint. It is that kind of grit, that kind of precision that champions are made out of. And it's been incredibly calm, incredibly measured on most accounts by Just Boris. Having seen his earlier career in the TRR Sprint Series, we saw a driver coming into it that definitely had quite a lot of skill to present. Was still having some troubles in and amongst the pack. We've had no such issues for Just Boris. He knows precisely what the name of the game is when it comes to pack fighting, and that's why in most instances, on the rare account that he does actually get into a side-by-side battle, he knows exactly what the assignment is. We saw that in Kota. We've seen this on a handful of occasions over the course of the season thus far. Right now, though, right at the very end, after already having been crowned Season 7's champion, it's his opportunity to experiment with the pace and gifted talent that he has. And in that 999, it could be another winning combination on the horizon. Now, McLaren we knew was a dead set pick right from the very start of the season for Just Boris. We didn't think, however, we'd see him ever change his stance coming towards the end, and obviously growing a little bit tired of the same old with the 720S. It's his opportunity to play around with the options on his table here. And I, for one, do not want to miss out on the opportunity to crown a Lamborghini a race winner at the end of this race. And with 16.5 minutes left to go, that option is absolutely possible right now. Looking around the field then, that strategy has divided the masses, and we're more than about 2 seconds apiece for most drivers here between positions, so no real threat of a battle going on at the moment, especially not inside that top 10 as we continue to take a look around. Most drivers now just keeping it in the clear and narrow for the next 15 minutes of racing, 3/4 of an hour in, and things are mellowing out on what has otherwise been a very chaotic final round. At the moment, for who I could label driver of the day, I mean, it would be pretty tough to not recognise the talent. If we scroll across here to try and find him, it would be very hard to not recognise the talent put on display at the moment by Hayden Puttick. He was down and out on qualifying result, started towards the back of the field with a little bit of a slide there out of turn 7. Despite that, has been a near squeaky clean record for the Honda on its home race here in Japan. It has been a near flawless performance by Puttick to put himself up into that top 5. It is definitely a likely candidate for driver of the day today. Another one I'd like to throw forward is Grizz, who's definitely been getting his hands full with some battles today. It's been a fantastic crowning drive for the number 44. Started off the season in bronze, has absolutely proven his talents capable of, I'd say, even gold standard coming into Season 8. Hoping to see this driver race once again. Going into Season 8 Round 1, whenever that may show up. So with only 14 minutes left to go, no real battles going on at the moment. We're just going to sort of keep taking those looks around. We can see that Turn 11 really does seem to be an issue for Tyler Vermack. He loses consistently about 2 to 3 tenths of a second on most laps. In that one corner, he's taking a very unorthodox line. It's to conserve momentum for turn 12. We've seen that that doesn't necessarily work out for him in the battle. He knows that he has to try and keep as much momentum as possible, with the Ferrari not being the most kind when it comes to acceleration, especially up against cars like this, the Aston Martin V8 Vantage, which has it dead to rights out of every corner. You look here, Aussie 207 now down in 12th. Started inside the top 10 if memory serves. Started 9th for this race. It's down 3 positions, but there was a bit of a squeeze there into lap 2 for most of the drivers, especially down at the Degner. Aussie was caught up in that as well, if memory withstands, for this race. It's done well to pick up the pieces there. The 207 looks to be inside the top 15. And it seems that there's not much a choice, as we're only down to 15 drivers now. So it was quite a record number of losses in this race for DNFs. Drivers either crashing out or disconnecting one way or the other. We've lost about 6 drivers in this race. We started with 20 on either side. Hang on just a moment. I think there's trouble for the 313. It's emergency gone to the pits. And I believe the 313, this was out of 130R we saw on the map. That yellow flag come out for the first time. That was the 313. That was Hayden Puttick. We spoke on him just a moment ago. So now the green light being given to Grizz to take that top 5. Pete's now in the clear. No imminent threat of a Honda chasing him down. But that has got to be brutal for Puttick on that final round. All he had to do there was keep it in the clear and narrow for about 12.5 minutes. He knew by this point, if he kept pushing the car, he wasn't going to catch up to the McLaren. He was going to end up in a position like that, and Grizz wasn't in the position to hunt him down, as it looked like the McLaren wasn't gaining that much time on the pace that he was on. But it looked like the Honda just flew too close to the sun, and its wings have melted, and rather dramatically so, as it appears there was a big off at 130R for the Honda. So not quite clear as to what precisely happened. We have seen issues at 130R for quite a few drivers, and I even went so far as to comment on how well the Honda's been performing in this round. Have been sorely shown up there by whatever occurred. Can't see any tyre marks there from where the Honda may have potentially gone off, as we watch here with Wishful Winnings. He's up to 6th now in this race. Ahead of him there, VSR Grizz backing up the top 5. So with only about 11.5 minutes left to go, that's the only major action we've seen in the last couple of laps here. Things continue to simmer down. No real moment-to-moment action here. Most of that has burnt itself out in the opening half. Checking around the field, doesn't really seem to be an awful lot going on here. We'll stay on board with Tyler Vermack as he pursues VSR Otzi ahead of him there. That gap looks to be slowly but surely chipping away in every single corner. Especially through Sector 1, where that Ferrari has so much better cornering capacity. But what it lacks in stability is what it's making up for there in manoeuvrability. And it's the real balancing scale for these cars. I'd say on your far end, in towards the stability side of it, you've got your Lexuses, you've got your Aston Martins. I'd even say at a push, you've got your Fords as well. And then towards the more manoeuvrable but unstable side, you've definitely got Ferrari, you've definitely got Lamborghini, and you've definitely got McLaren. It's the holy trinity of flaky cars in ACC. But when you get these measured and precise drives, you rarely get to see firsthand its major flaws in those cars. These drivers having to mould themselves like clay around that machine. With the mid-engine cars, rarely is it that you're in a comfortable position where you can make the machine work for you, no matter what these coaches are telling you. There has to be that degree of capitulation between driver and car. Trying to make the car work for you works all well and good when you're rallying, or if you're in a front-engine GT, but mid-engine, these things want to violently attack you. You've got to treat it as the analogy. Your front engine ones, those are your golden retrievers. Those are your Labradors. They're very easy to work with, very easy to train. Not really going to be too much of a handful, but not going to excel too much at an awful lot in most circumstances. Quite a jack of all trades thing. These are your pit bulls. These are your XL bullies, these mid-engine cars. They want to hurt. They want to hurt something. If it's you, it's you. If it's another driver, it's another driver. So be it. So over the course of that last lap, nearly a second faster, remarkable pace here in the final stint by Tyler Vermaak as he slowly reels in VSR Otzi. We'll have another look around the track to see if we've got any other battles as pressing as this one, but at the moment we'll go back on the other side of this fight. Now in the defending car's perspective, VSR Otzi with a silver championship riding on the line here. All he's got to do is get to the checkered flag and that championship is secure. 8 minutes left to go. Right now, he's got a Tyler Vermaak-shaped problem in his rearview mirror. This is slowly bleeding in to be that fight for 7th position, but one has to wonder, is it a case that he's slowing down in that Aston and trying to keep things cool, or that Tyler Vermaak's heating up? So is it going to be a case where that Ferrari boils over, or is it going to be a case where on the attempt to try and keep things nice and cool, he's going to freeze over and accidentally let that Ferrari roll on by? Who breaks first in this fight for 7th position? We're about to find out. In and around 4, maybe 3 more laps left to go here at the Suzuka International Racing Course. Down through the Casio triangle, you can see things getting closer and closer now where maneuverability becomes a concern. That Ferrari's got the Aston pinned. When it comes to the stable section of the track, watch for the Degner curve, where the Aston's definitely going to have a little bit of the leg up there. Otzi will be able to keep the throttle pinned just ever so slightly more. You can see in that last lap as well, where Otzi's picked up the pace and gone back into the 202s. Tyler Vermaak's picked up even more steam and has now gone into the 201. So we're on this gradual build back up to full slingshot race pace. Just under 7 minutes left to go here in Suzuka. Otzi now has to start weighing up his odds here on defending 7th position from Tyler Vermaak. For Tyler Vermaak, it's going to be a case where he's got a very wide back end to follow here. That Aston is a perfect defending car, as we've seen time and time again this season. A very difficult car to get around, and on the tightening corners here of Suzuka, that is going to be a real pressing matter for Vermaak on his final opportunity to fight with Otzi in this season. Up towards turn 10, into our major action spot at turn 11. It would take a very long-winded break to get us in side by side. On the exit of this corner, you can see that Vermaak has been slowly but surely improving his line there on an area that used to be one of his weaker spots here in Suzuka. He is absolutely rocketing now out through turn 11, makes turn 12. Now towards turn 13 and 14, 6 minutes left to go. We could even be side by side here on our way down towards Spoon Curve. Otzi held the inside early apex at turn 13, makes another early apex at turn 14 now. Full throttle between Otzi and Vermaak. They're following front on end here. V8 versus V6. Aston versus Ferrari on our way down to 130R. Otzi's just got enough of a gap ahead here not to have to worry about anything too crazy from Vermaak. Makes his way around 130R. Keeps it in the clear. And now you can see riding the outside curb was the Ferrari. Is it going to be a case where he starts flying too close to the sun? That could be what caught the 313 out earlier on. The Honda NSX of Hayden Puttock, who's now sadly out of this race. 5 minutes left to go as we make our way onto lap 26. Here in Suzuka. Vermaak's looking to make this one personal. Otzi there giving a little bit of a swerve, trying to break the toe off of the Ferrari. Slowly closing in. Only a 4/10 of a second difference in that last lap. Out through turn 1 and 2. We're now getting on board with the Aston, looking over its monstrously large rear wing at the sight of the Ferrari chasing him for 7th. You can see that the 296 hugging the inside line wherever there is an opportunity. The Aston's holding off the curbs, knowing it's scrub speed. A real balancing act between these two for 7th position here at the end of round 16. Up through turn 7 we go. And that Ferrari has got a very, very strong following here to try and take it. Is it possibly side by side down towards Degner? Surely it can't be. He backs out of it there, out of turn 8, in towards turn 9. He's going to try for something on the apex, on the exit of turn 9. Doesn't try for it there, but he's lining himself up closer and closer for something here at turn 11. Doesn't go for it either. Holds the far right of the track to swing it late apex for turn 11. Brings it even closer here at turn 12. It's nearly front to rear. Now it's side by side through turn 12 on our way down towards Spoon Curve. If the Aston can hold its nerve, it may potentially still hold the inside for turn 13. It's right alongside one another, but the Aston prevails in straight line. That is a proper show of force there by the Aston Martin. Let loose the AMG V8 and let it sing down through turn 14 we go. Down towards 130R. This is normally where the Ferrari starts to gain somewhat of an advantage. You can see how much more momentum he carries through turn 15. The Aston's not looking to risk anything too much through that section of the track. Out through Casio. Just mounting some of the curbs there. Riding over it with the same sort of unparalleled brutality. Completely unfettered by those curbs. Riding over it like a tank over rocks. That Aston is an absolute warship. So up through the S's we go. Lap 27. Makes turn 6. Now turn 7 at Dunlop. Vermack still getting closer and closer. So we're going to swap perspectives here and get on board with the attacking car of these two. Tyler Vermack we're on board with in the Ferrari. You can see that one mistake was what he was waiting for, because he's going to pounce on him there like a hyena down in towards turn 10 and 11. And our cameras can barely follow them here with how close the action is between the pair of them. Vermack's been waiting for this opportunity all race long. He's just a little too far behind to have made it. The side-by-side action we saw on lap 26 was pouncing at that Aston Martin the moment it slips. Could it be a case where heading into Spoon and 130R we see a repetition of such an event? Watching from the perspective of the former number 22, now the number 94, sizing up here VSR Oatsy's Aston as we head out of turn 14. It is very, very close indeed, eerily close between the pair of them on their run down the national pit straight. Now to 130R. Watching on the dash now, we want to see a close-up view of this fight. Running wide, holding that outside curb. Seems that Ferrari's just got enough clearance to take it on most days. How much longer will that luck run for him? Will his luck run out by the end of this race? 1 minute left to go then. We're in towards the final laps running here in Suzuka. It may even be one more lap for these two as well, as they are ahead of the leading car, Just Boris, who's about to start the final lap of this race. Right now, we cannot take our eyes, and frankly will not take our eyes away from this fight until we know dead certain who's coming out on top. Will it be Vermack? Will it be Oatsy? Only one more lap around this track will tell you different. 30 seconds left to go. Rounding the Casio triangle on our maps at the moment. The 999's down towards the line to start. One more lap here at Suzuka. These two have got one more left in the bookings, but Vermack runs it wide through turn 7, just as it caught out the NLR team back in the NLRL Console Endurance Series. Turn 7 claims another last lap victim. This time being Tyler Vermack. Can he make his way 1.5 seconds closer to the Aston and get the move in here when he's got but mere laps left to go to make this possible? The 999 has started its lap here. These two, I believe, will have just one more go around to decide 7th place. Vermaak now quite sorely on the back foot after one slip at turn 7. We'll catch up with these two in a moment's time just to get a gander around track here and where things look to be going. Right now heading through the Degner curves on his final run around of not only this track but in Season 7 as a whole is Just Boris, the Gold Series and overall champion for Season 7 on his first and current only drive this season with Lamborghini. Is this a sign of things to come for Just Boris? We'll know in a moment's time. Checking around VSR Otzi, who's now still in the defensive posture for P7 in this race. They're on for one more lap. Is but mere moments away from being crowned the silver champion. We'll find out in just a moment's time then. It's getting closer though. We could very well have a last lap battle on our hands, as closing the gap by nearly a second in that last lap, despite being 4/10 slower over the course of lap 28, is Tyler Vermaak. He's made it half a second to VSR Otzi at this time. Tommy Johansson's a far distance away from either of them, currently in 9th position. We're going to quickly check in here with Just Boris as he makes his way through 130R. Checking to see where the penny drops in our fight here between these two drivers. We'll quickly get on board with Just Boris as he rounds the last corners here on the last lap, on the last round of the championship. The checkered flags fly in Suzuka for the Lamborghini 999 of an all but familiar name. Just Boris wins again at the final round of the championship. But let's quickly check in with our warring duo. The battle for 7th position still rages on as we make our way out of the Degner curves. Turn 9 now gives rise to turn 10. You can barely watch here, watching between our fingers in the commentary box as we see where does the penny drop between Vermaak and Otzi. It has been a legendary fight between the soon-to-be Silver Series champion and one of our budding Gold Series drivers. Ferrari versus Aston marks one of the best battles here in Suzuka since the last lap battle between MSA and Exclusive in the Console Endurance Series. So to see sprint racing return to Suzuka is a real sight to behold, and what a baptism of fire it has been for these two. Out through Spoon Curve, it is going all the way down to the line between these two in what has been a fantastic final flourish this season. Where does it land now between Aston Martin and Ferrari? Down towards the line we go at 130R, soon to be the Casio Triangle. Is it just far enough ahead here for Otzi to clinch 7th and take the silver championship as he heads into turn 16, now turn 17, now turn 18, down towards the line? It could very well be a drag race with a great line behind him, but I think it's been reassured there for Aston Martin, taking the checkered flag. Goes VSR Otzi 7th in this race here in Suzuka, but the Silver Series champion crowned at last. Very narrowly avoids the blue frog there. He's giving it to the very last second. These two have shared in a fantastic battle. So getting a gander at our winning drivers then and champions of this season. If you just bear with us for a moment here. So our champions here in VSR Season 7. Starting us off then in the bronze category, it's Antion in the number 1 who wins with Ferrari. In the silver category, it's VSR Otzi who wins with Aston Martin. And in the gold category, was wrapped up a few weeks back, but returning a name again, the 999 of Just Boris. He won with McLaren, but wins today with Lamborghini. All three of these drivers champions through their respective categories. What a series it has been, ladies and gents. A fantastic final flourish to take us to the checkered flag here. Just Boris wins. Soviet Mario on the front row with the Ford Motor Company. VSR Chris makes the podium on his return. What a battle to the line, though, we got to witness there between VSR Otzi and Tyler Vermaak. A real treat inside the top 10. 3 champions, 2 of which crowned today. That you couldn't end a championship better than that if you tried, I think. What a series it's been then, ladies and gents. You've been with us for 14 weeks now on TRTN if you're tuning in from VSR, and it has been 14 very, very pleasant weeks indeed. The entire series can be caught, save for, I believe, Zolder in the sprint round. So almost the entire series can be caught on our YouTube channel, which we will link upon request. Do feel free to DM us on Discord in the VSR server for further inquiries. As far as we're led to believe at the moment, our contract continues into Season 8, and wherever endeavours lead the VSR group, we'll be following close behind, cameras ready, here on TRTN. That's all from us. What an evening it has been then, ladies and gents. A bit of a spotty start from us here. We had to get everything ready at the last second. Bit of a busy day for me, alarmingly, for a Wednesday. But that is a real grand exit for Season 7. Plenty of highs, plenty of lows. For those of you in chat, I'm curious to know what's been your favourite race this season. For me, I'd say you're in a chalk up at the moment between Donington and Bathurst. Those two were both Donington races, by the way, and Bathurst. Those were fantastic rounds to watch and to record for here in the commentary box. It was a brilliant, brilliant season indeed. It's very rare that we get these incredibly long seasons to cover, but there's just so much juicy gossip to pick apart, so much history involved in it. Looking then at our champions as well, and our previous champions now adorning that list for Season 7, Just Boris makes the 7th series champion. It has been a fantastic season. And really, there isn't that much else to say. It's been a fantastic season to cover. I sound like a broken record saying that, but really, there are no other words that spring to mind, and that's concerning considering it's my job to speak. Regent in chat saying Kyle Army was a fantastic race. Do not disagree. That was a great, great round to watch. Having a look at that calendar and looking back through all of our previous races as we take away there our champion placards, so we can get a very clear and comprehensive understanding of the calendar at play. And honestly, it was a fantastic season. Kyle Army was a fantastic opening round to cover. Zolder was brilliant. We've got back-to-back bangers there from Boris. The short form sprint format has actually proved to be one of the greatest parts of this championship. Indianapolis was, I'd say, just so-and-so. That's not the driver's fault. It's Indianapolis as a track, really. It's when stacked up against Kota and Laguna Seca, two fellow American tracks on this calendar, it was always kind of going to be outshone by one of the two. Imola was a great one as well. Brands Hatch was fantastic stuff. Kota was great as well. We got to see the great battle between Boris and Patuk. We saw Honda take the top step for the first time. Bathurst was an all-time blast. I can never not have a fun time at Bathurst. Hungary was a great one as well. Misano was fantastic. Alton Park was iconic, I would say. It was a chaotic round that gave rise to many an interesting result. The first of 2 race wins for ETE Geels this season. Laguna Seca was a great time. Donington was just absolute cinema. You can't take it away from that track. It is an absolute blast to be there every single time. Nürburgring was a great show as well. Definitely a bit more of a knuckle down and survive kind of race, but it was still plenty of twists and turns in and amongst the fray. And that controversial race ending too, and what a way to round things off then at Suzuka. What has been a brilliant, brilliant round. That's all from us here on TRTN then. Thank you so much for watching this season. That's all this time around. You won't see us next Wednesday unless they get one rolling immediately, which we've yet to be informed as to when Season 8's coming, but know that we will be there for when it does. As far as we know, that's the end of the line for now. Thank you so much for watching. Take care and good night.